Here, what's happening?
Well, let's hear from the lawyer.
Sunny.
Yeah, I know we were talking about this morning. You know, for me, when someone enters into a plea agreement with the federal government, the first thing you tell them is, if you lie to me, that is a separate chargeable offense. That's perjury.
Right.
Up to 5 years in federal prison. And so Paul Manafort knew that if he lied to prosecutors, that he would be charged with perjury and that the plea agreement would be yanked. So I think one of three things is happening here. Either he thought he was going to outsmart prosecutors, which stupid criminals often think they will, or two, he knows something so important that could really harm either the president or someone else in the administration that he's willing to go to prison for it because he can't talk about it, or he's expecting a presidential pardon, and so he's keeping that secret and willing to go to
I think he's scared of Putin.
Well, that's that he knows something so important that he's willing to go to prison for it because it's either prison or death.
Well, no, I mean, his family's at risk also.
That's right. That angle, when you're talking about Putin, I don't know I'm not a lawyer, I don't know anything about this, but what we do know was one of the things that got him in jail was that he was an unregistered foreign agent, and he was a conduit between Russian oligarchs within Putin's inner circle. So whatever we don't know, and the Ukraine, yes. And this is what we do know about him. As far as I'm concerned, people that do blood money dealings like this, he should rot in jail and then he should rot in hell. As far as I'm concerned with Paul Manafort.
She means that in a nice way, though.
No, I don't. I think when you take blood money from foreign adversaries, when you're a United States citizen in the way that he did, he should, the idea that he could be pardoned, I mean, you already saw my reaction in our meeting earlier this morning, but it is, I don't even, it would enter us to a new level of insanity in this country, which I didn't think I could.
Is it just a coincidence that Trump finally answered all those questions from Mueller, and then like a few days later, we hear this information?
Well, I don't know, because he can't talk directly to Manafort, so there could be some.
Yeah, but what about Whitaker? Isn't Whitaker like the little mole, the little snitch now?
I also wonder what this means for the Mueller investigation, because everyone's waiting for these results. Is this news about Manafort not going to set it back? Is he going to now have to interview other people? It also highlights to me a struggle that I've had for a while with presidential pardons. I'm not an expert on pardons, but I struggle with the idea that any president has so much power that they could free someone from getting away with criminal activity. And it really started back in England with the Kings. And I'm with George Mason, who was one of our founding fathers, who pushed back on this. And Alexander Hamilton was one that put it in place. And now we're to a place where I think the power has grown exponentially to a place where it's like,
they don't use it very much. I mean,
it was meant to be symbolic, my understanding. Like Clinton did it with Preston King, who was a civil rights activism. It recently happened with Jack Johnson, the boxer, famous boxer. So
Clinton
when it's used
he pardoned Mark Rich, if you remember.
Yes, and it can be used for situations like that are nebulous. But I think that if it's symbolic, if you're arrested for being a civil rights activist, then that's a different situation than somebody who was a conduit for Russian oligarchs with Putin.
But it's just such a broad power. And my question really is, what is happening with the Mueller investigation? People are saying probably in maybe January, after the holidays, we're going to hear what's going on. But Donald Trump in his recent tweets appeared to be frightened to me. You know, he's talking about this person going rogue. He tweeted something else out. I don't have it in front of me, but it was like, you know, this is just ridiculous and this is crazy. And I reading it thought, wow, he's really
he's at a 60% disapproval rating now, which is very high. I don't know who these 40% are who still like it.
For the president. I've seen so many different polls that are all over the place.